while exploring this website, one of the article what I found here inside CISSP 30, that is 30 years. Yeah, so it's 30 years. So this CISSP was in fact launched in 1994. The very first version CISSP came in 1994. So in 2024 we have completed 30 years of this certification. Now when I looked at this particular article, you can see this. Yeah, if you look at it, yes, in 1994. So while looking at all this detail, I found that this is the place which is interesting to me. Yeah, and what it says that the CISSP, it's about here what it is talking about, securing interconnected networks. Yeah, so securing interconnected networks, and that's where if you look at this entire thing here, it says that the CISSP certification sought to address and support with communication and network security, a key domain of the CISSP exam. So for me, after asset security, this is the one I'm going to look at in detail. Yeah, communication and network security, that a key domain of the CISSP exam. And in fact, what it is written here is also that network security is a fundamental element on all aspects of IT, cybersecurity, communication, e-commerce, and more. Yeah, so there are all 8 domains are there. They are very important. But as I said, that for me to create the flow, I said that everything is about asset, and that's where we are going to talk about the security. So I will start with the domain number 2, that is the asset security, and domain number 4 talks about communication and network security, and that's what you see here, communication and network security. So this is going to be my domain number 2 and domain number 4. These are the 2 domains where I'm going to spend my initial time. However, please see, domain number 1 is talking about security and risk management, and domain number 3 is talking about security architecture and engineering. And for me, architecture and engineering is something very important. For example, when you go to the domain number 1, or whenever we talk about security principle, we talk about confidentiality, integrity, availability. There are different. So when I talk about architecture, this is the, or engineering, when I talk about architecture engineering, this is the place where we talked about what are the models, information security model for confidentiality. Yeah, what are the like for example Bella Padola model, for example, when I have to talk about integrity, yeah, Biba model. So this is the place where we talked about different models, and I think domain number 3 is going to be very important, and that is going to create a foundation for me. So when I was talking about relationship, like understanding the relationship between these domains, this is what we need to understand, that in domain 1 we will be talking about confidentiality, integrity, availability, and all, but actually in domain 2 we are talking about different models which explains, yeah, how do we create the confidentiality, what are the different models for integrity. Yeah, so that's something very important. So for me, security architecture and engineering is going to be core actually. Yeah, that's the core from where I will, but because that's the architecture, and this architecture in fact, as I mentioned, that I mentioned about toga, safsa, there are different architecture models are there. Yes, so for me, in fact, if you look at this 30 years also, there is one more thing here, it is written here, that policies, processes. Yeah, so in fact in domain number 1 if you go, this is the place where we talk about governance. Yeah, here we are talking about governance and all, so we will have more of the policies, processes, yeah, and all we'll be talking about. So my plan is that first of all, my focus will be on first 4 domain. So how is the weightage defined? How is the weightage? So in fact, if you see domain number 3 to domain number 7, almost all the domains are of 13 percentage. I think exception is one, that is of 12%. Otherwise they all are of nearly 13%. Domain number 2 and domain number 8 are of 10% weightage, and domain number 1 is security and risk management. So security and risk management is in everything what we do actually. So that's the governance. So in all the domains, so in fact domain number 1, I find that it is going to be present in everywhere. When I'm talking about asset security, I will have some governance part of it, architecture governance, so everywhere. So domain number one, in fact, is connected to all the domains. Yeah. So for me, the study plan is that I'm going to talk about asset security, communication and network security, and to understand all that, in fact, in the security domain number three, that is the security architecture and engineering, is important. And of course, domain one. So my I'm going to do in two phases. First phase, I will be focusing on domain one, two, three, four. Yeah, of course, as I said, that architecture concept is very important. Architecture engineering and communication and network security, as I highlighted, that has been one of the key domains of the CISSP exam. So I'm going to very much focus on this communication and network security, and of course, asset is something where I start with. Yeah, and then I'll go with the remaining domain 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay.